Okay, I wanted to read a question here and make a comment on it. So this is a group asking questions of Quo regarding channeling. It's a big question, and maybe a brief answer will suffice at this point. Many of us have feelings of having not been treated well. In our response of anger to that, and particularly for those of us who are attempting to develop on the path of service to others, it can be a tendency to hold back on our feelings of anger and to hold this over long periods of time until it gets to the point where we become sort of numb and unreachable. I wonder if you could speak briefly to the question about how one might clear those frozen energies. Thank you. We are those of Quo and are aware of your query, my brother. It is indeed so that in most patterns of incarnation within your density, there grow to be in the incarnated mind-body-spirit complex pockets of deeply buried pain. As one can imagine, the effort made to bury the pain is commensurate to the level of the pain. The greater the pain, the more harsh the need will have been to erect defenses around it and annihilate it. It is not a desirable situation to have these islands of buried pain. Although there are methods of systematically going after such buried pain, we would perhaps more happily recommend the natural process of becoming aware of these pockets of pain and suffering through the observation of the self in its reaction to surface catalyst. As events occur on the surface of life in everyday matters, some events trigger reactions that seem out of proportion to the catalyst that provoked them. When an unevenness in the calm of spirit is detected, that unevenness is worth noticing, not in order to judge the self, but in order to play detective in ferreting out the direction of these pockets of deeply held pain. Naturally, you do not wish to do violence to yourself in the process of digging up this rich ore of experience, and this is why we say that it is better to work with the self in a patient and sustained manner, getting to know the patterns of triggering that you have as an individual, and building your intelligence as to what might be behind these unusually outsized reactions to seemingly mild catalyst. Gradually, you will begin to be able to close in on the line of thinking or a direction of inference which leads you to a sudden memory of the generation of this old pain. Perhaps you cannot recall the details, but suddenly the pain will present itself to you free from its defense's guard, so that you are able to realize its strength and see it in its true shape for the first time. When this occurs, embrace this realization and release that deeply held pocket of pain. A balm of Gilead for such wounds is forgiveness again. Forgiveness of the self, forgiveness of the other, forgiveness of the situation. In many cases, you are forgiving things experienced so early, experienced in your childhood, that you shall never have a cognitive awareness of the exact nature of the pain or of the cause of the pain. Yet at the same time, that is, you are able to lift this ore out of its pocket and set it free. You can sense the lightness of your shoulders that no longer carry this burden, and you can feel the inrush of new energy into your body. And these are the signs that you have successfully released an engram of frozen emotion. This work is well done, but we encourage you to do it gently, lovingly, and patiently, rather than attempting to clear the decks and become completely free of all distortion. Such desires are those which create further distortion. Realize, too, that as you clear out a pocket of pain, you may be dealing with a pocket that is being fed from a still deeper source within your system of energies, so that were you to stop at that point and think to yourself, now my work is done, you would be denying yourself the opportunity to move even deeper and to find that original pain that has been feeding the more near to the surface pocket of pain, which you have found now. Consequently, do not feel that this is work that can be finished within a lifetime, but rather remain vigilant each day of your life to those things which disturb you and investigate them as you get to know yourself even better and even more deeply. So that's the reading that I wanted to do. I just came across it and it made me think about something that happened to me yesterday, and a tarot card reading that I did, where I got the High Priestess and the Empress. So these two kind of strong female energies. And I had this incident where I went to the grocery store, and as usual, I'm not wearing a mask. And I just come in the door, and there's this lady that comes behind me, and I can see she's saying something to me. I pull my earbuds out, and she's saying, "You're supposed to wear a mask in here." She was really grouchy, and I said, "Are you minding your own business?" And she said, "I'm minding everybody's business." And then she flipped me the bird. And I said, "Ooh, classy." So I just carried on and kind of did a loop, and then I ended up at the cash. And I'm waiting in the cash line, and I just look over, and there she's taking a picture of me. And I just thought it was so funny. I mean, honestly, I just started laughing, and I was kind of, aware. I was managing my emotions. I was being aware of like the part of me that just wanted to say to her, like, WTF, like, mind your own effing business. But I didn't. I did respond to it with like, she did not look like a healthy person. I won't go into the details as to why, but so I just kind of let it go and carried on. But I know, like, as I pondered it later, because I have had a run-in with another lady on the ferries who was really in my face, and I didn't respond very well to that. Like, I stewed about it, and I was angry about it, and there's all this story about, and I know for myself, like, this aversion to like bossy women. Like, I know that I have, that's in my story or whatever. It's like the Karen I find really, really obnoxious. So when I came home, I did like a little meditation, a little prayer, and thought, took it back to like, what's my story about all that? Why am I bringing that into my reality? Is there a part of me that is like that? Is like not minding my own business, is up in other people's grill, and there probably is. There probably is part of me that is like that. So the part of me, and then in my own story, maybe that, to do with somebody in my personal life that I won't name, and then even maybe another lifetime as well. So I just like came back to like, okay, this is catalyst. This is something showing up to trigger me, to bring more awareness to the situation. And I think this is really the way that we take back our power, where it's when something happens in our life, we recognize that we have given it the power that it has. If it's not a big deal, like, I think that I have been working on that storyline. I've been thinking about it. And so it's almost like, when the tarot showed me this is the energy that's coming up today, in a way, it's like I'm ready to face it. I'm ready to, and my reaction wasn't big. It was like there was a little twinge of the old, but for the most part, I responded in a pretty chill way. Like I didn't get all drawn into it. In fact, I thought it was humorous. Not the first part, I was like, I was tempted to like tell her to, where to go. But as I just kind of made my loop through the grocery store, I like breathed and I was like, might see her again. I'm just gonna disregard her. I'm not gonna like fall for that. And I just happened to look over when she's like taking a picture of me from a little ways away, and the absurdity of it, I just laughed. So I think like that was kind of an affirmation of my development with that. It's not. I don't think it's totally completely resolved, but I think it's getting there. And that if we see all of these situations in our life, and I mean, there's tons of examples now, but today I just, before going out, I was doing work, just positive stuff, light invocation, centering, heart chakra expansion, all the different things to just be in the best vibe I can be. And I went into the mall. I went into another store. Oh, I went into the fabric store, and nobody asked me for a mask. I was even behind a lady waiting in the lineup, and I heard the two ladies in front of me talking about vaccines and masks, and the lady at the counter was like, people with a vaccine better not come near me. I have COPD. And the other lady's asking about vaccine and like whatever. Anyways, when I got up there, I just smiled. The lady was nice to me. We talked about cryptocurrency. She asked me. She's like, "Oh, what's that card?" And so we talked about cryptocurrency. We didn't talk about, and so it was like a very pleasant conversation, and then I left and went to the mall. I thought the mall was like probably going to be maybe the most challenging. I saw a security guard. He looked at me, looked away. So I went into Winners. Nobody asked me. So it felt like, again, an affirmation for when you do that energy work where you are in this good place, then you're gonna have much better results. Even if something comes up, you're able to kind of shrug it off and be like, okay, no big deal. If something does come up and it triggers you, then that's a good thing. If you can say, okay, this is something in me, this is a sign. This is a sign. It's like, the eagle flying overhead, or it's like the something, the special rock on the path. If we can embrace these things as signs, as the shadow coming to the surface, and we can face it like that, we can take back the power from the situation and say, okay, this is actually a good thing, and I'm not going to react to it. I'm not going to fall into the old story of it, the disempowered story of it. I'm going to embrace it. And as Quo says, forgiveness of yourself, forgiveness of others, because ultimately the same thing. And so seeing where inside you is that event originating from, or at least your reaction to it, right? So if it's too much of a stretch to think, okay, that event originated from us, at least it's easy to see that our reaction to it is originating in us. So yeah, I just came across that. I wanted to point that out. I think it's very, very timely when it feels like there's a lot going on in the world that could push our buttons and trigger us. But actually, if we can frame this as, this is catalyst, this is contrast, this is useful for us. This can be useful for us in, if lots of stuff is coming, then there's lots of opportunity for growth in a short amount of time. But we got to be able to not fall into victimhood, not react, but embrace the signs, embrace what's happening, and invoke whatever help we need. God, help me to embrace this as guidance, as a lesson. Help me to forgive myself for falling into the trap in the past, and for not having the capacity to love myself or love others as I would like to, as I need to overcome this. So ask for help. Take the time to meditate on it, where you're going inward and asking yourself, what part of me is this showing me? What is the message of this event? And I think we can reclaim a lot of our power. This is what, to me, being a magician or an adept is, where the belief is, I create my reality. The affirmation, or a wizard too. Wizard, magician, adept, all kind of the same thing. Or witch, or there's so many, shaman. It all comes down to, I create my reality. I take responsibility for the creation of my reality, and it's a journey. It's not like a finished thing, like I'm all powerful in my awareness of how I create my reality. I'm learning. I'm on that path. I'm a student of that understanding. So, yeah. Peace.